Hello and welcome to Stop Now, where we stop, listen, and share. I'm your host, JK. Today we have a special guest, our favorite guest, Lisseth London. Let's welcome her.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
So, just getting to the formality, like again, I am missing my team here. I'm struggling to get to the right rhythm and the tone in which I need to host the show. But anyway, like you are the expert, you are the therapist. So, how have you been? What's happening in life? How are you doing?
Well, okay. Hello, everyone. I'm the behavioral trauma specialist. I don't like calling myself therapist. Behavioral health trauma specialist. I've been doing well. Life has been moving along, and society has been showing a lot of signs of reaction towards whatever is occurring in our atmosphere and our environment. So it's been interesting to see all the changes that are occurring.
Well, that's good way to put it. So, you don't want like to be identified as therapist, right? So uh, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong, you said like you are kind of a behavioral specialist or uh, a person who has that expertise knowledge in how human behavior happens, right? So we exist in this world together, and how this relationship complicates us and troubles us and traumatize us in different way. So
Mhm.
I myself have been traumatized by my team. I just have to full disclosure, I'm not in the right mood. I would say like even I'm completely in a dark place right now. So help
Mhm.
me out, like how someone who's going through that phase in life or for that moment, right? How do they deal with anger or resentment or whatever
Mhm.
that is, right? So why is it like it sucks so much to deal with other people's?
That is a loaded question, but I will try my best to answer it. I think the reason why, and I'm going to go backwards in the way you asked it. I think the reason why it's difficult to deal with people is because we all are different people. We all have our own emotional roller coaster baggage, whatever it is people want to identify it as, in history with how we have been impacted in life, how we've been impacted in our day-to-day basis. And so oftentimes when people are not regulated enough, and meaning that they're not aware of their how they're being impacted, their reactions, right? The way they engage and the way they are exposing themselves, oftentimes does not come out as kind. And so it it creates this feeling of guilt, anger, frustration, resentment. And it's all because, don't you see what I'm feeling? Don't you know what I'm going through? Hey, can you understand this? There's also another person in this situation. Can you not be all about you type of situation? And so when it comes to that, there is a disconnect when people are acknowledging that, because we believe that what we feel is important, more important than anything else. And so that feeling with two individuals feeling the same way can oftentimes cause the friction. Um, the other part that you ask in regards to coworkers and dealing with in that sense, and feeling like the frustration and all the stuff that comes with it, trying to continue on with my definition, is that some people don't have the same priorities as us, the same understanding as us. For example, I do a lot of descriptive example things. Is that you have your cell phone, and your cell phone is the thing that you have invested in, and it's yours. It has all your information on. and you believe this is the most important thing that you own right now, and you are connecting with another person, and you are trying to show the other person, hey, this is important, this is a priority, and the other person's like, but it's not. I have my own cell phone, and my cell phone is also a priority. And so again, that concept of trying to understand each other's priority without saying that yours is more important than mine is where people get caught up in, which is that behavioral side, the behavioral engagement side of, I'm dealing with stuff and it's coming out, and I'm engaging in a way that may not be suitable for the situation that I'm in. So hopefully that answers some of the questions that you asked.
Yes, I mean, in a way, right? So from your professional experience, right? So you provide counseling or expert advice to people how to deal with those things, right? For example, you rightly said it, right? So it's like, I don't know, I recently come across this word like quite often being used by teammates, like, why are you gaslighting, right? So I'm doing my thing and you are trying to bring that guilt in me, like as if I made a mistake. So who is right and who is wrong? How do we decide and how do we resolve the conflict as such? Not just getting into it. I'll give you an example, right? For example, we are running an experiment lab and we are in an investigative channel. I'm just hosting a show in that on a daily basis to do some research and find out, like, just like how the human behaves, right? Like investigating the corporate crimes. So those are big things. So we all agreed to it and we started doing it, right? For example, we faked completely a fake resume and tried to find a job for a person. And it's highly impossible for anyone to believe that, right? So when I say, like, I'm going to fake a resume for you, Lisseth, and I'll get you a job for $100,000. Would you believe that? You will say, like, no, what kind of scam are you running, JK? You think I'm fool or I'm dumb, right? So that will be the answer from everyone. But for us to experiment that, because it was a victim story, he's told us this is how they are traumatized, and they have to do all sort of fraudulent things just because of their employers holding them on their visa and all. So we wanted to expose this. So that is why, like, we started this channel and we were doing the experiment. And one of our teammate, he volunteered and we did faked his resume and we got him a job. And he's making 120K per annum now. And he agreed to donate us like whatever like he wishes, right? We didn't even cap it, right? You have to give 10% and all. So if you are very generous, you can give 10%, or to the minimum, just give us 5% or whatever that is. Forget about money, right? You got a job based on this experiment by doing fraud. And then, like, the person completely went dark. He said, like, I just don't want to use the F word, but still, literally, he just reacts like that, as if we don't exist. Just fuck off, man. I don't want to deal with you guys. And he is behaving in that way. So we, as a team, like, everybody is kind of shocked, right? We all worked so hard. Everybody in the team, like, someone sending emails to hundreds of recruiters, or to posting their the fake profile to different job sites and trying to set up an interview for him and also get him a job, coach him, train him how to clear the interviews, how to fake and clear the interviews. All that we did for 3 months with a team of people, right? Not just one person. To put in that much of effort, and then one person just takes, like, it's like, I was making fun of it, right, to the team. I was lighthearted on that. I said, like, he is going to say, like, fuck off. It is a bank robbery went wrong. and one person takes away and runs away with everything. So we all ended up losers. That's fine for me, with me. But the team is burnt out. They all got so pissed off. And they said, like, what the heck, man? Like, what do we do with this guy? Why do human beings behave like this?
That's a tough one. First, like, it's sad, and I am so sorry that that happened to the team, because everyone's so passionate, was so passionate to do and to discover the truth. And then that one person turns around and basically leaves everyone behind. And it's like someone spitting in the efforts that you've done. So I'm so sorry about. The other part is understanding the human behavior, right? Is they are now in a position where it was unimaginable. They didn't believe that it could happen, and it happened. And so they're trying to ride this wave the best way they can. And oftentimes, when individuals get into something similar to what you're describing, and they look around to the people that have gotten them there, the people that were working with them to get them there, the issue that comes up is, wait, you didn't do this by yourself. Why are you acting like this is all your work? And the realization is that that individual, yes, is now like, I did this for myself. You didn't do anything. And there's a level of dismissal. That part of human behavior is hard to define if we don't know the reasonings behind why they're doing that. There's a level of entitlement that comes with it. There's a level of manipulation that comes with it. There's a level of dismissal and just overall just a mindset of, I am in a hierarchy, in a mentality that I'm more important than you. And so understanding that has to get more, I guess, more context as to why he chose to do that. What is happening on that side that he decided, like, this is that I will forego the relationships that I have to do something that knows that he's going to be able to no longer have those relationships anymore. There's just so many pieces to it in regards to that. But it sounds to me that the individual really didn't, with what you're mentioning, didn't really believe that it could work. And so that when it did work, he was just trying to ride the wave with it. That's what it sounds like with what you're explaining to me.
Yeah, listen, I mean, on a lighter tone, right? I understand, right? People get greedy and they get, because the person I'm referring to, right? He never had a full-time job in his life.
Oh, wow.
So this is the first time. It's like a jackpot for him. Like he's getting a $10,000. It's a big money. So he might get greedy. I understand that. But all that team expected was to talk to us, explain yourself, right? You can say that, like, I am desperate, I'm in desperate need of money, so I cannot share anything. Say something. Just going dark and avoiding everybody else and saying, like, I am super busy in the project, I don't want, like, to talk to you guys. What kind of attitude? Because it is, at the end, he is going to be the loser, because every damn thing that we did, we recorded it. And the team is saying that, like, let's go publish it, shame him in the public domain, because he is an American. That's why he is doing that. The team's argument is just because of that. And I don't want to accept that, right? And I said, let's give him a time. And we gave him more than 3 months. He didn't turn up. So the team says, like, we have to take revenge. We have to publish this, shame him, put him in trouble, let him go to jail. And I said, like, let's not go that far, right? Because we all did this together and we will also be in trouble. Why do you guys want to risk it? And they said, like, no, this is what we intend to do it. We want to find the truth. We want to expose this. And it's a big name, big corporates.
Mm.
So that is why, like, I got so worried, and
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I said, like, okay, maybe the entire team has to go to therapy, or we need to find some answers from experts. What are we doing, and why do we need? Because I don't want to hurt any one individual alone in this
Mm.
process. But the problem is being created by that one individual because of this whole game plan that we came up with.
So that gives me more context, right? In terms of like the level of where the team is at, right? I'll always tell my clients first, hey, you cannot control the other person. You have to control yourself. So what does that sound, what does that mean? That means that we have to navigate the emotions that you're experiencing. You are experiencing anger. You're experiencing betrayal. You're experiencing a level of guilt because you put this person in a position now that is not true, right? And he is taking advantage of all the work and efforts that you've done. And so understanding that first, there's a need for regulation within ourselves before we can do anything, because if we don't, the anger that we have, the frustration that we have, we then turn around and want to get, the word revenge is what you use, and not really looking at it in the way of, hey, this doesn't, him having this position with the experience, he has no experience in this job, but he got this job. We are now doing a disservice to the organization that hired him, right? We're not even looking at the people that he can damage. We're only looking at, I want to destroy him. I want to take a revenge over him. And so when we are in that space, anything that we do does not come out well, because you are trying to do something that to punish the other person the way you're feeling that frustration and anger within yourself. And so oftentimes that's why people, when they take revenge or do anything, it doesn't always work out the best way, which is why you always have to think about, well, what is it about this that I'm really frustrated about? Because I mean, technically he did what he was supposed to do. Yeah, he was supposed to come back and have a conversation, but if he doesn't have a conversation, there's a level of shame, like, oh man, I'm in this space and I didn't think that it was going to go through, and now the money as well, like I need this, and like there's a lot of stuff that he could share with y'all, but maybe there's a level of shame and embarrassment that he has. Again, we don't know his side, but what we can control is the way we respond to. I think that the concept of exposing someone, it's okay if it's done well. And what do I mean by that? You have to come at it from a way on the side that I'm not trying to cause you harm. I'm trying to let you know that this is a level of caring in terms of, you can then get into major trouble if you don't do it the right way. And I'm coming to you to let you know this so that you understand it's time to really expose the truth, right? And so again, that concept of less, I'm going to punish you, and more of, I have to protect the people that he's trying to serve is very important. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you, right? That was my own explanation to the team, saying that whatever that is, right? So I wish him success. Let him prosper. Let him make money. I don't care. I know that, like, I bet on it, and I told the team, right? This is why, right? They were defending, okay, why we are doing this is to expose the victim's story and how they are trapped in it. And if they have the freedom, they can really do well. And just for running our campaign, we did this. And if it is an US citizen, Americans will screw this up. I told them from the beginning, because the minute they have their control, and he has, as you pointed it out, he has no experience. how long he will survive in the job? Maybe 6 months, and then what? When he loses, like, he will know the pain. Maybe he will come back. Those are the things, right? Again, we can go what you said in a diplomatic manner, like the company which hired him, they didn't do the background, they just went with that, and it was like a vendor who did all these things, and we didn't try to control him. Like, we just wanted to experiment. That is the my whole point was, it is an experiment. It has not gone wrong. It has gone in the way we humans exist. We
Mhm.
all think so self-centered, and I tried to enter into it and um, make a resolution with that guy, and he said, like, okay, fine, I'll donate $50. Here you go. The team was so frustrated. Are we begging to him? Just wow, what kind of attitude is that? he he
So,
he just pissed off like more everybody. And I said, like, okay, fine, come on, guy, like, let's cut it off. I don't want, we will find a replacement. And we found another gentleman. His name is also Nate. Again, you know Nate, so it's nothing about Nate here. I don't want to right away disclose it, but the team is angry and they want this to be published. And I said, like, let's not do it as you are saying, right? I felt like so happy that, like, as an expert, when you say this, like, I also feel the same way. We don't have to take revenge just because, like, to punish him. We don't have to. It's not justice, right? We will disclose it in a way that will help the entire world to look at the story and see, like, what is wrong happening in our society, right? It is the fault of the corporate. We wanted to expose them. Like, they have to be more uh, legit. They have to. There are thousands of people who are looking for, with experience, looking for jobs. They are not being given opportunity. But a
mhm.
person who don't have any single piece of evidence or knowledge or experience, with his fake thing, he is able to get a job, then there is something really wrong in the system.
Yeah. And it comes back to what was the purpose of this experiment in the first place, right? And you have to also go back to that. I think that your team is saying, hey, the whole point of this was to expose, the individuals, no matter who it was. And so now that it's this person who was working with you all, and that person now, quote unquote, betrayed you all and made you feel as if you have to beg like $50. It's just with $120,000 salary. Is like, wait, what? But I understand where your team is coming from as well in terms of the 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 foundation of what this program was, or this experience was, is to expose all things, no matter what. I think the issue that you may be facing is that we didn't expect to expose the individual that was participating. We were only trying to expose the organization that we were applying for the job. And so I think that's where they're coming from. Like, why is it that there's a change now in terms of how we move forward in this space, right? Because it is the thing that you all wanting. Expose the fact that this is wrong. Expose the fact that their hiring process is not correct. Expose the fact that anybody can revamp this paper and show it to you, and you will hire them and not even have a background, and you hire someone who has no experience. The whole point of your experiment was to expose that. And so now that it's this individual, there's a hesitation to expose. I think that's where their frustration is coming from. And so it's like, why is it that now we can't do that?
Yes, the whole argument, right? So that is one thing, right? I mean, how people get victimized. So the whole concept is, if the person is being controlled by, right? For example, if he is our employee and we place him in the client, we definitely have a upper hand. Like, we will get the contract and we will just pay him only 70% or 80%, whatever that is from that, right? And people are being controlled. If they are on a visa, they cannot do anything, because the minute the victim story is like, this is what the same thing a US citizen can do it, but whereas, like, I am a foreigner and I am an alien, I have a visa and I am dependent on my employer, so I have to accept lower salary. There is discrimination. The minute I say, like, I am on a visa, they don't give me that equal employment opportunity. All these things are related to our experiment. And in this whole process, like, one person in the team goes wild and disrupt the entire process. Again, our logic was not to hurt him or to because he knows that, right? Including the interview he has given, everything he has done has been recorded. And how can he, like, go bravely and say, like, oh, is he thinking that, like, we will not hurt him back, or we will not expose this? What makes them to take that risk? That's my question, right? Because the minute it get exposed, there is so much of shame, and he's going to lose the job. He might end up in legal battle. So many things are there. And why would anyone risk that? Like, that is my struggle to understand the whole process, right? Why would people risk this, right? Because just like any small crimes, Lizette, like, let's go to that, right? Just like shoplifting and all those things, people do it in a momentary thing, right? So I will not get caught, and they do that. And if when they get caught, like, it's a huge shame in the public sphere, as well as, like, for your friends and families, everybody knowing this, what you have done. Why would people risk that?
I think the best way to answer that is, and I'm going to look at it from the perpetrator and victim mentality, right? We're going to look at it with using that language. Is the perpetrator believes he's untouchable, and that he can do all things that we know are illegal, right? He can document, he can send messages, he can verbally threaten people, and he believes he's untouchable, and that the victim will never turn around and expose them for what they're doing. That is the mentality of someone who believes they're untouchable. And we see that a lot, like you mentioned, with people who with criminals and individuals who cause harm to others. This is something that is you know, constantly seen in various different ways. The thing about that mentality is that it is very contagious in the best way possible. That belief that I can do all things and you will not touch me puts it, it somehow turns into something where you now answer it, now you receive it into your brain, and as a victim you now see this person as untouchable. Now you see this person as they have more rights than you, when in reality you have the same amount of rights. It's just the language that was used in the system that protects that language that was used makes you feel inadequate. It makes you feel unprotected, unseen, and so that's why a lot of people don't say anything. We see this constantly in any area where someone is literally oppressing the other person, either verbally, by emotional, verbal, physical, financial abuse. It's that mentality that that we see. So behavior wise, he believes, right? And again, I'm just assuming, I don't know who this person is, but that person could believe that no matter what you have on him, you cannot touch him. That no matter what you have on him, he's untouchable. And then that comes out as in the mentality of, I am now untouchable. The system is protecting me. And again, that's often not true, but that is often what is seen.
Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong, if I get it right.
Mhm.
So what you are saying is like, I, in a way, I understand that, right? As a perpetrator, like some people, they think they are way more powerful and they can get away with it. And the other side of it is like, just like playing the racial card. Oh, you are discriminating against me, right? Or I have some special category or privilege where I am protected. So if you accuse on me, like it's going to backfire. Like I am not the one who is at fault because I did as per, even in this experiment, right? They told me to do it. So that's why I did that. So it has nothing to do with it. Something like that, right? So you can get away.
Yeah.
Like he comes from a journalistic background. He said like, oh, he is a freelance writer and he's a journalist. And we just named it as an undercover operation, like because of huge corporate
Mhm.
businesses are involved in it. Like big brands, big names are there in this. And that is how like we got in this. But let's move past on apart from this story. I just feel like always we had a cheerful conversation and it was never tensed, and you always make us laugh. um,
Mhm.
Anything that you want to share or cheer up?
What the work that I've been doing, I don't know. It's a cheerful and then like a sad. It's like it goes back and forth. I know that before I mentioned the organization that I support um and I'm advisor for. It's the entity Haven. It's in Houston, ran by a ex traffic person, right? She's a survivor, a warrior who turned around and created a nonprofit to get people out of the track. Well, the system in Houston decided in order for them to take away everything and really shut down the track, they would put barricades or like walls and stuff and that and shut it down. Well, what happened with that is that now the traffickers are all over the place. And now they're now becoming into pockets of different places. So she and her team has been able to do amazing work in trying to get people like she locates people who've been trafficked that go missing but that are trafficked, and was interviewed by Dr. Phil recently, and so it was, the work that people are doing out there in terms of trying to do um justice and trying to show the world that things are not only not moving right, but like there is people who are on the street who are actually doing the work to make a difference. So the interview was great. You can find it on Dr. Phil. Her name is Deja. Again, she's from the entity Haven, and the interview was amazing. So there's just a lot of little things that I've been doing and working with and supporting people and just like trying to bring awareness to people about you know that it's been great.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's good to know again. uh, 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 so in terms of the final question, right? So we can go on and talk about it like forever on these issues,
Mhm.
particularly in terms of these human behaviors, right? So even people who are married couples or who have been married for long, they have these kind of domestic violence abuse, right? So it's always like, it looks like men are the one who does that. Even women in certain cases turn
Mhm.
uh, I won't say like violent, but emotionally kind of abusing the other person. So where does that comes in picture to the mental health experts opinion? How do they decide, and when do they decide like to seek help?
That's tricky. It can vary. Someone who has been abused, emotionally abused and psychologically abused, it's often hard to show them what's happening because they've been ingrained in that mental oppression and fear for so long that when people out the outsiders are looking in, people are like, okay, hey, what is it that is keeping you here? And they have this like, well, no, it's fine, I'm good, don't worry about it. And but we all know that they're being abused. I actually have a current case right now, that again, the individual they divorced, and because he was emotionally abusing and psychologically abusing her, financially abusing her. She was able to divorce just because he then turns around and said, you know, if you want me gone, you got to pay for me to leave. Is basically the thing. Um, that's what happened. She went into debt for all of these things. Fast forward years, they had a child together, of course, when the divorce, they were divorced, and they've been raising this kid together, you know, and co-parenting. And even with all of that, he was still being abusive verbally and I mean emotionally via text and via email, right? The fear of that. And so incidents occurred, and so when the people, lawyers, um organizations that are like, whoa, what, this is not good, like what, why didn't you do this, it's your fault that you allowed him to do this. And a lot of these organizations don't recognize the level of abuse that comes that has happened, that the individual's mental health, it's like the fear of it had them paralyzed to the point that they felt like what you mentioned with the whole scenario before, that they felt in a space that if I say something, this person is protected by the system, and I'm not going to, and then it looks like I'm taking revenge if I say something. So and he made these statements constantly to the point that she feared speaking out. Um, and so when we looked at it now, we understand that she was dealing with a level of anxiety and a level of fear that was huge. The depression that was coming in waves because of, I feel like one day I'm doing good because he doesn't message me. The next day, like he messaged me and I'm just like, and I'm rattled. So looking at mental health in relationships, um, who are people who are abused, it's a very difficult thing to gauge because we don't know the level of abuse that they endured. We don't know the concepts that they have grounded as their foundation as to, you know, are they worthy enough to speak up? Are they worthy enough to leave? You know, we don't know all of these different things, these factors. And because we don't know, we have to, as behavioral health people, tiptoe and figure out where they are to see, okay, well, what is it about your situation that either has you completely paralyzed or has you in anger and frustration, and you just want to rebel against it and it's actually harming you as well. Like there's a level of trying to find that balance that occurs, that professionals have to take time to do.
Well, that's wonderfully put, Lisseth. I don't know if I can answer it in that diplomatic manner to people who go through it, right? Because many people who share those kind of abuse stories and they are traumatized, when they seek help or call us, we really don't know how to handle that, right? So one simple example, I will tell you that, right? So whether they are going through the personal problem or it's between the husband and wife, or what made them to seek some other partner, or go to prostitution or something like that, right? So he ended up in a trap. He said like, oh, it was a trap that was set by the police, and he got arrested. And still they are in the relationship. So when personal relationships are in bad shape, does that make people to go crazy and do stupid things? And I don't know, I honestly, I get up when they say like, I don't feel like they are victims. So I don't know how to handle them or how to talk to them as well, right? So what is your advice to people who are who have to deal with that kind of thing? Because I know like you have that experience talking to a lot of people on that. And how do you judge them, right? So do you like think that, oh, this person is good, or no, he is bad, like no matter what we say, like he's not going to listen?
Mhm. I think it's not about the people are good or bad when it comes to that. It's really about talking to the people to find out what their voices are, and what their beliefs in themselves are. Because the person cannot get out of the situation if they believe they're lesser than, that this is the best that they can get, right? Oftentimes, the partner has implanted that mentality into them, or has that mentality was in there somehow, and that partner only kept watering it, right? And saying like, well, you know that I'm like, who else is going to want you? Who else is going to do that? And so that, the first thing is really just looking at their own self image, and how they punish themselves, right? Like, the reason I'm experiencing this is because I did this, and I deserve this, right? Oftentimes, it's the process and the pattern that we see in victims, right? This whole self punishment, that I did this and I deserve this, so I need to put up with this, right? Or this self sabotage, like it doesn't matter what I believe, like I, I I can't, I don't deserve to go out here. I don't deserve to do that. So there's self sabotage, their ability to come out of it, and then they stay in this isolation state because that's the concept that the person has put them in, right? And so there is just so many things that happens within that cycle. Um, for individuals that don't believe that they're victims, it again, it's we wanna judge their actions. Like, no, you know the truth, and now you can take the truth and walk out of this. But that's not as easy as it seems, because again, you have to understand the mentality that is in there that oftentimes paralyzes the person. And so our behaviors are not showing what we are listening to, because our mentality, right, our psychological sensing is oppressed and is bruised and is trying to figure out how do I get a voice when I never had a voice? How do I come out of something if this is the best that I believe that I can get? Because before, my partners were worse than this, and right, at least he cares about me and shows me this, or she cares about me and shows me this, right? And so oftentimes that's how they stay. But again, for the outsiders looking in, we can say, well, you chose to bring him back after that person was removed, or that person was, the police were called, and like, you chose to bring him back. And we tend to punish the victim for going back into the situation, when sometimes it's hard to come out of it because they have been ingrained to believe that this is it, that this is the best. Which is why it's important that we are mindful of that. If it doesn't look the way you want it to look, we have to step back and say, well, what is it that's happening to that person that they believe that this is it? And so, and then looking at it from that sense, by asking and talking to them, or and if they feel fearful that they don't share, that means that there's more to this than they're saying. So it's a tricky thing, right? People really do punish victims and survivors of abuse. I've seen it I've seen it more than I care to, that the individuals who choose and find a way to get out are still punished by the system and the environment that they're in, because why didn't you come out of it before? Like, it took a while to get here. It took a long time for me to get to say no more. So it's a lot of those things that play a huge role with the behavior of the victim, and how the victims are even being served, with all the organizations out there.
Yeah, wonderful, Lizeth. Yeah, that's really helpful. Again, we can go on and on, but before we wrap up, right, I just want to say, like, how do we draw the line, right? So even from the victim standpoint, as you mentioned, so I am traumatized, like, when I hear these kind of stories. Like, we see that there is a clear abuse, and why they are not taking, just because of family or friends, or societal norms or shame or culture. What is that makes them to go back to the abuser and stick to them? Or I still have no answer for that, right? Even if we try to help them out, give them the counseling, right, as you rightly put it out, right, so they have to make their choice. The behavior change has to happen with those individuals, right? So
Mhm.
that is my whole point, right? So where do we draw the line? And if you can give a final comment or shout out to our team, what should they do?
So the first thing for your question is, like, what can we do for that, is really just have patience. The level of patience that comes when you're dealing with people who are abused or dealing with abuse, it's it's not about your timing, it's not about your understanding and your, like, well, I could do this, I don't understand why they can't do that. Like, a lot of people have that mentality, and it's hard for victims to share, because they also, when they're sharing and want to come out of it, they're also met with, you should have known better, right? And so it's like that damn if you do, damn if you don't type of mentality, right? And it's hard for them to accept that they're trying to do their best, and that this is what they're met with. The other thing that you mentioned is that why do they stay, and what is, because sometimes there's a feeling that is that they experience that they have never experienced before, right? This, but he loves me or she loves me. I know everything else is hard, but I know that they care, right? This mentality of like, all this thing is bad, but this one piece is so good that I'm just like, man, I'll stay, because they have used that piece to manipulate the emotion of, this is the best that you can get. And so, which is also the mentality that traffickers use, right? Those Romeo pimps that use, right? If they, I show you this amount of emotion, and I'll give you that experience that you feel like, man, this is the greatest thing ever, and then you leave, or you stay in that space, or you forgo all the things that and accept certain things. So again, it's the emotions that we don't know, it's the endorphins that they feel when certain things occur, that they're like, man, that's it for me. Um and so, for your team to be encouraged in situations, it's like, you know, one, you have to be patient with the person that, one, you're servicing, two, that you're dealing with, and be mindful that even though you want the person to do A, B, and C because it's so clear to you, they should be clear to them. Oftentimes the people don't see it that way, and so again, that's why patience comes in. Now, when it comes to those people who you pour into, and they don't do the right thing, and your anger turns into, I need to defend myself, I need to take revenge for myself, then that then gives you the mentality of the perpetrator, of, I need to cause you harm because this is what I feel. And that is a very very thin line in this space. The lines get blurred, and so it's important to understand what you can and cannot do. It's important to understand how you react, how you respond, how do you engage after something has occurred. And so just navigating into that is very tricky. But if you do it right, if you take your time to do it right, by being aware of what you're feeling and the emotions that you are harboring, and dealing with that first, you then can support those people around you. And either if they're being abused or being manipulated or being gaslighted, as people say, or whatever it is, the situation they're in, it gives you the ability to be more centered to deal with the things that are occurring around you. So I would just say be patient, be mindful, be kind, and really just be aware of how you're responding, how you're reacting, and how you're engaging.
Again, thank you so much, Lisseth. That was wonderful. And with that, we can give a closing remark. If you have any message to that backstabber, right? Or the perpetrator, the person in that story, like what message will you say to him?
That in the end, is it worth it? Is it worth losing the support and the acknowledgement and the camaraderie of the people that you work with, and the purpose of what the experience was or situation was? You have to at some point decide whether your action was warranted or not. And if it wasn't, there is, you know, I believe in karma. and there's certain things that occurs that when you choose something and you decide to be a certain type of person, that things don't usually come your way in a kind way after that. And again, is not threat, is not anything. It's just the aspect of the world that we live in, right? There's, you make choices, and the choices that we made have consequences. What consequence do you actually want to endure? And that's the choice that you make.
Wonderfully put. Thank you, Lisseth. Again, there is a cause and effect, and I don't know whether I believe it or not. You said like you believe in karma, so bad karma will get it. That's the message we are sending it out. Anyway, thank you so much. Again, thank you for everyone who are watching this. We have Lisseth London, our special behavior expert, trauma counselor, or whatever that is. Like, Lizard, how people can reach out to you? If you can give that shout out, like we will wrap today's session.
Yep, you can find me on LinkedIn, again, Lisseth London. You can find me on my website is Lisseth London Global Consulting, or just any social media is Lisseth London Global Consulting. So you can reach out and I will tag in. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.